Hey.
Whoa.
No sleeping during davening.
Okay.
Obviously, we're not davening now.
Yeah, obviously not. But I thought it'd be fun to do that, so we did it. Okay, here we go. What are we doing today here? What are we doing here? Gabe, what are we doing here?
Well, Pesach is almost here.
Right.
So I chose 4 wines. How come?
Gee, I wonder. 4 wines, for what reason for Pesach, 4 wines?
So this one is for Chacham.
Okay.
Tam. Rasha. No, I'm joking.
No, but I just a quick aside, nothing to do with wine. Reb Feiss, Nathan's father, Yochi Herzog's father, once explained to me, he said, Jay, why do we need 4 sons? Especially, why do we need the Russia? Doesn't make any sense. And the answer is, you can't have a Seder without the Russia too. If you're part of the tribe, it doesn't matter what walk of life you come from, what your perspective is. If you're not here, we can't even get started. So I thought that was a beautiful thought. And tell us about the first one you poured already. Tell us about this.
On that. Okay,
but you also said that you also were explaining to me before why, the general theme.
Yeah, I'm going to get to this.
Okay.
So each of these wines, you see there is a Rosé, there is an Italian, 2 Italian wines actually, and then the Herzog Napa Valley Reserve. People always ask me, and I'm sure they ask you all the time, every year, why are you drinking for the Seder? What should I drink for the Seder? What should I drink for the Kosses? And people have different minhagim, different customs, whatever they're comfortable with. Some people, they choose a different wine for each Kos. And others, like me, they just use the same wine for all the Kosses. So I go with Rosé. This is one of my first choices, the Gush Etzion Rosé, 2023, fresh from the new harvest. We had a break, so to speak, from Israeli wines because of Shemitah in 2022. So now we have the 2023 vintage. And this is a beautiful rosé. It's based on Grenache, but I think that there's other varieties in here.
What I love about this also is the fact that it is varieties that are primarily southern France,
right.
Mediterranean varieties, Grenache, Mourvedre, and Pinot Gris, of course, is not, but it's very little Pinot Gris, which kicks it up, gives it a little bit of acidity, gives it a little bit of that freshness. And also, the alcohol is not that high on this as well. Let's see, what's the alcohol on this?
Like 13. No, 11.5.
11.5.
Yeah.
So, especially after a long, hard day, and you saw me sleeping there, right? After a long, hard day of davening for, whatever. Actually, you're not going to put on your talis Friday, first night Seder. But after a long, hard day and you're really ready to eat and you've been holding off because you can't eat just potatoes all day, right? And your stomach is empty. So you don't want to start, at least I do the same as you. Okay. I don't want to start with something extremely heavy, whether it's heavy in body or whether it's heavy in alcohol. So this is really a great way to start.
Yeah, absolutely. It's refreshing, fruity, delicious.
Great aromas, fresh, clean, but also strawberry, a little raspberry aroma.
Yeah.
Like young, fresh aromas.
Yeah.
Young cherries, not black fruit.
Exactly. Yeah, freshly picked. One of those red cherries you see in the season.
So that's really great. And by the way, it's made in Gush Etzion, and virtually all the grapes that go into Gush Etzion's wines, Shraga, Rosenberg's wines, are actually grown in Gush Etzion. Right. So most of the wineries, or many of the wineries, take from the Golan and the Galil and the Judean hills, and sometimes the Negev. Yeah. But his wines almost always all come from the Gush Etzion area.
It's a terroir-focused winery. The winery itself is at Tzomet HaGush. So really in the heart of Gush Etzion, right in between Efrat and Alon Shvut. And you see the vineyards all around.
It's really great, because I have to tell you, again, as an aside, we did my granddaughter's bat mitzvah there.
Oh, nice.
It's a wonderful place. Speak to Shraga, he'll make you a good deal. Just tell him Jay sent you.
Yeah.
Go ahead. What's next?
Okay, next. So, we're growing our Italian portfolio.
Okay.
So, we always have all those big Bordeaux from famous wineries.
Right.
Now we have, nice Italian wines from famous Italian wineries. Like this one from Famiglia Zingarelli, Rocca delle Macie.
What do you call it?
Do a
Rinse
real rinse?
first.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's do a rinse. Because I want to get the full flavor of this.
So Chianti Classico, Sangiovese. There is Chianti and there is Chianti Classico. Chianti Classico is the best, the prime region within the broader Chianti region of Tuscany, where you get the best wines.
And it's got the black rooster on it to prove
Exactly.
it. Right. That's actually a stamp of approval by the Italian government, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Now, just because one wine is called Chianti Classico and a different wine, let's say Terra di Seta, is called Chianti Classico, that doesn't mean that they're necessarily comparable. For instance, this one sees, I think, no oak aging, or very little.
Very little.
And it's meant really for drinking right out the gate, very approachable, juicy, with those, you will see for yourself, those Italian...
And about, people want to know, what approximately is the retail on this?
It's around $25.
Let's find out.
Yeah, not super tannic.
Nice fruit, a little bit of tannins on your gums. What's the vintage on this?
22.
22.
Yeah.
And I think it's still got some age worthiness, and it's still going to soften up a little bit more.
Right.
But it's still quite approachable. It's not it doesn't fill your mouth, but it's still flavorful.
Exactly. It's
Nice
easy
wine.
to drink, earthy, savory. And the non-kosher version of this, they sell 80,000 cases a year in America alone.
Wow.
That tells you, if it's that popular, there is something there. And
Right.
which there definitely is.
I think also what's nice about this wine, it has a lot of flexibility in terms of what kind of food you do with it.
Sure.
Because it's got the fruit, it's got some tannins, but it's
I
light
see.
enough to go with chicken and even a fatty fish, and even the beginning of a heavier, roast or red meat. But
Yeah.
it's got a lot of flexibility on what it can pair with.
Yeah, very versatile.
Okay, what's next?
Okay, next. Also from Italy, Lovatelli.
I'm going to take a rinse if you don't mind.
So we had already the Primitivo, which is the Italian name for Zinfandel, basically, and the Barbera di Asti. And this is the new one that just came in. From Monferrato in northern Italy. So what's interesting about Nebbiolo is that they're pretty light color.
Yeah.
Because like
Almost reminds me of a
Pinot Noir.
A Pinot Noir, yeah.
So actually, Riedel, the wine glasses.
Riedel, yeah.
Yeah. So
You say it right, I say it. Riedel,
it doesn't
tomato,
matter.
tomato.
Tomato.
Yeah, go ahead.
So they have, wine glasses that are shaped for different varieties and all that. And they have a Nebbiolo / Pinot Noir glass.
Oh, really?
You can use the same glass.
So my assessment is correct.
Yeah.
That, it's similar to Pinot Noir in terms of its color.
Yeah. In terms of its color and in terms of body, what's interesting about it is that it can be pretty full-bodied and usually very tannic. They can age for a long time. Barolo, Barbaresco, very famous types of Italian wines, they can age for 20, 30, 40 years. They have that staying power, really. But they have thin skin at the same time. Thin skin that
right?
release a lot of phenolics, which gives them the tannins. However, because of the thinness of the skin, you get the light color.
Mm-hmm. And is this? But I also understand that Nebbiolos can also, like Chianti, be made in a wide range of flavors and colors. Well, more flavors, and so some of them are really monsters, and some of them are like this, which are more accessible.
Exactly, more accessible, more fruit forward.
Again, nice. I like when you start out. It also got some tannins, the dry tannins on the gums, but also I like what you said before about when you first started, that these wines can be started with and you can go throughout the Seder. Mm-hmm. I think this is the best example of that concept, because this wine has got a little bit more fruit than the last wine, but it's still light enough so that you can drink it throughout the Seder.
Yep,
and the alcohol on this is
It's 13, yeah. 13.
13% right there.
Yeah.
So it's also not a big monster of a wine in terms of the alcohol too. So again, it's kind of great for the four courses if you want to drink it throughout.
Absolutely.
I don't. I switch it up.
Yeah.
You know what my wine is of choice?
I don't mind it. I just, I like to do it simple at home. I do, one wine for the courses, and then Shulchan Aruch for the meal. I open like some nice aged wine, relax, savor it a little bit, keep some for
So you know
for
what?
lunch
You know
the
what I
next day.
choose? I'll tell you what I choose. I look at the head of the table and I go, Tzvi, that's my son. Go downstairs and pick whatever you want. That's my choice. But I do start like you do. I do start with something like either a rosé or a Pinot Noir.
Yeah.
And I try, most years to do something from Eretz Yisrael.
Yeah.
Especially the first night.
So the
But
first
could
night I
switch
do
it up.
exactly the same thing.
Oh, yeah?
I do only Israeli wines the first Seder, and then only non-Israeli wines for the second Seder. All right. Last but certainly not least,
And
Herzog
again-
Special Reserve Cabernet Sauvignon Napa Valley 2021. So
Whoa,
this
whoa,
is
whoa,
definitely
whoa.
not.
I wanted to-
Yeah,
you
it's
wanna-
fine. It's so
you want me to-
powerful. You don't even need to rinse.
Okay, there you go. You got it. I'll take you. I'll take your lead on that.
Okay. So this is definitely not new. I mean, if you have never seen this one, you've probably been living under a rock
OMG.
for the past.
Just the nose alone is OMG. What's the alcohol on this?
That's a good question. 14.5.
Okay, so this can be a monster. I haven't tasted it yet, but this can be a monster, certainly in terms of the alcohol. What that shows you, by the way, out there is that when it was harvested at much higher sugars. What's beautiful about Napa is that the phenolics, meaning the seeds and the skins, unlike certain other areas that have challenges in this regard, like Israel, the seeds and the skins come ripe the same time as the sugars.
Right.
And so you have really great balance of phenolics, color, alcohol, fruit. It's all should be really all in great balance, especially if the winemaker is the one like we've got, which is David Galzignato, who's really an expert at this.
So David Galzignato, when he gave me a tour of the winery last year, he told me, I'm a Cabernet Sauvignon specialist.
Wow.
And oh boy.
I didn't spit this one. Mm-hmm. BH, we made the bracha beforehand. And I tell you, the other thing that you could notice, I don't know if the camera will pick this up, but if you look at the legs on this, it's got a tremendous amount of driplets. We call them legs in wine speak. And this portends that it will be very rich and thick in the mouth, very viscous in the mouth. And it sure is. And it's got lots of flavor. And if you do this right, involve your entire palate, which in wine speak really means your tongue, okay, then you'll feel the flavors all over. You'll feel the flavors on the side and on the tip and in the back and in the center. And it just goes on and on and on. Wow. If you're going to have a rich dish, when I grew up, we had gedampte Fleisch, which means, or really chicken, they didn't even have meat, which means that they boiled the chicken and that's all, nothing was even in the oven, Today, of course, that's changed quite a bit, but if you're going to have something rich and full and big and meaty, I'm suggesting this is really the way to go.
And if that's what you also like to do, the wines that you like to drink for the Seder, something that's got a lot of presence, but it's powerful, this is amazingly concentrated and layered. And
I'm going to go one step further here, and I probably will get me into trouble, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Go ahead.
And that is if you have, this is so flavorful, it's so rich and so thick, that even though it's dry, if you have like a chocolate dessert, this will be great for that. Even though it's dry, even though it's not sweet, and you think that you need the balance of sweet with that sweet chocolate, no, this fruit and this body and this richness.
Totally, it could handle it.
It could handle it. It won't be overpowered by the chocolate. I wouldn't suggest it with something, like ice cream.
Yeah, no.
Unless it's chocolate ice cream, but something warm and something black.
Like a flourless chocolate cake.
There you go. So even for dessert, this would be great.
Yeah.
Anyway, I once again, I'm always amazed And even though I have very little input on the wines we choose, except for, that little dig, make sure you include whatever, one of these, you did a great job. Thank you. And,
Thank you.
And it's so exciting to see that the people hopefully that are watching it will be able to gather this information and use it.
Right.
When they get
Pesach, we celebrate freedom. You have the freedom to choose the best wines you like.
It's one of the beautiful things about our religion in general that, choice is a key component of what makes each one of us special.
Yeah. It's not freedom
L'chaim.
as an absolute. It's freedom to do our avodah, to be God's servants. But we have beautiful ways of doing that.
L'chaim.